I'm Chris Hayes, and thanks to Healthy Wexford, we're going to visit some of the many groups around Wexford involved in community growing of varying types. This Seeds to Success series will visit newly established gardens and ones that have been around for a long time. Come with us and discover these gems on your doorstep and be inspired for your own community. Castlebridge Community Garden is a short spin from Wexford town. Let's go have a look at this oasis of peace that lives in the shadow of Arthur Guinness. The garden here is the longest established community garden in Wexford and has been in the capable hands of Mary Hamilton all that time. Mary, how are you?
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Thanks for having us out to the garden.
You're welcome.
And look at this mosaic as soon as we walk in.
Mm-hmm.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not just growing here because the polytunnel is massive. The flowers are great. There's also lots of art.
Yes, yeah. Well, that was the one in the early years we had the Community Art Forum in Wexford.
Yeah.
Oh, I had Andy McGarry was out.
Okay, good.
And he did this. We did it, I don't know, about 6 Saturdays, maybe 8 Saturdays, adding pieces. Most people can name one of them as their own. I know my daughter did. She did that one and she did that one, and then everybody else can. Most of the old members can name which square is theirs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we kind of.
Well, sure, will we have a tour of the garden?
Yeah. We're doing particularly well this year. We had the plums and pears. We even had peaches earlier on in the year. But this one here has never fruited.
Okay.
This is a mulberry. That part of the garden doesn't belong to our lease, but we just keep the grounds or the garden down there. We do save seeds and we do save plants, and we give plants away. I mean, that's a lychee or lychee tomato. It's the thorniest plant ever. They're vicious thorns. Wow. And I grew it. And
I've never seen a tomato plant.
It is a friend.
Is it worth it?
You tell me.
Okay.
You taste this now and tell me.
Oh, wow.
My answer would be no.
No. Any community garden needs some good sheds to work out of, which they have here, and they also put in the polytunnel. And they have a list here of the people that are working the inside beds. Now, when you read through the names on this, it's not loads of names for Castlebridge, there are the locals, but there's also plenty of people who've moved here and who work their beds in here and grow food and even bring food from home.
I want to come here because normally in my life I like to do all those the community garden doing here. For me, it's making me happy and making me good, make me feeling good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Castlebridge Community Garden is on the grounds of Castlebridge House, a former Guinness house, and in this garden, the idea of the Guinness Book of Records was born.
The idea of it was there was a shooting party, and they had just photographs of birds lined up on those hills there, and just after dinner, when someone said, "What is the fastest game bird?" and nobody knew, and of course there was no Google, and there was no reference books, and so they actually decided that they needed something like the Guinness Book of Records. So the Blackwater brothers, who were in London, they actually were tasked with coming up with the first Guinness Book of Records. That was Connie Harper. She actually just lives just across here, and she grew up in Castlebridge. I didn't originally. She had a sort of a real interest in getting in. She wanted to do something with the house. And I thought actually a way of getting in here, get her foot in the gate, at least start with the garden and then we can tackle the house.
I just love gardening for a start, but it's the tranquility of the place, but it's also the social interactions and the just meeting people here and chatting and talking about stuff and all the usual stuff. And it's a lovely place to meet people who've wandered in unexpectedly and never realised it was here. So that's a kind of a thrill always when you see someone's eyes widen as they walk through the gate. It's just been fantastic watching the way it developed and changed and matured over the years.
Half of the gardeners actually have prior knowledge of gardening. Some are pure greenhorns. and it's quite funny when you see the mistakes made. Like there's one man who's planted 50 tomatoes in his little plot the first year, and I think that's a bit too many, so he thinned them down to 25, which is even too many. 5 would be plenty, but like second year he sowed less, and by the third year most of them have a down pat how many tomato plants you need to feed a family, but and some people ask for advice, some don't, some want help, so you kind of have to be kind of careful. I don't offer usually unless asked, unless it's something really blatant. I try to button it, but
Well, this is my sister, so we came out to give her a help. So it was like the blind leading the blind between the three of us, because none of us are very able to do anything. But it's just beautiful out here. I mean, especially during the lockdown and that, when we came out, and when you couldn't meet anybody, we used to meet our grandkids and that out here. Do you know what I mean? And it's just idyllic. The kids, they see all the fruit now and they're able to pick them and count the butterflies and all. It's just fantastic.
I'm here from the start as well. Done all of our Phyllis done as well.
Right.
Brings down the grandchildren and they love it.
Right.
I had a 13-year-old now, he made plum jam the other day with the plums up there. And one now, she's strawberries down there, she's only 8. She saw them when she was only 5. Right. So they're all involved. I have a 5-year-old as well, so they're all involved in it,
Right.
But there's loads of different nationalities here, and some of them have, got their own from their own countries. And it's been really interesting to see, I grew that, it came from, I don't know what parts of the world anyway, but, it's nice to see what they're grown here in this little part of Ireland, you know what I mean? So it's nice for them to have some, I suppose, taste from home as well.
Yeah, do their own
it's
vegetables.
Nice, you give you a little taste of what they're eating as well, it's lovely.
We couldn't do without Harvey.
He plods along quietly there in the background, and you know what I mean, he just gets it done.
Right.
He's been a great help.
If he sees you struggling, he's there on your shoulder and he said, do you want any help?
And his knowledge is amazing.
He's self-taught.
Walk around and he'll tell you every single flower, every single vegetable, everything, he knows them all.
Right.
Arvidas Davidenas.
Okay.
I know it's very difficult to pronounce why you call me Arvi, because this is better. 10 years ago I finished horticultural course and I start growing for myself, everything from seeds, because then I gathering knowledge, I read books in English.
But can I just ask you, where did you do the course?
I done course in Osnam House, and then later I done finished course 4 years ago, QI level 4 horticultural here in Castlebridge.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it was handy for me.
But did you find it's helped you?
Yes. And I had very good teachers. I live just across the road, probably nearest living, and popping here whenever I have time.
Okay.
I enjoy it because, like today, probably more people, but sometimes Sundays, I come alone, and so peaceful.
One of the first things you put in was the polytunnel. It's it's so high and
Yeah,
wide.
it is
really
good.
Is nice,
It
isn't it? A nice
is.
polytunnel.
And we had all hands on deck, which you would need. I'm dreading the day we to reclad it. You're supposed to get 10 years out of the plastic. We now have 10 years. But it's still looking good.
Have you made your own wine yet?
No. But I just picked the grapes, and because everybody takes the grapes that are growing over their own bed, it looks like a lot, but it is quite a lot. But but mostly easy. I don't think anybody makes wine.
Castlebridge Community Garden, one of the things that they've done a lot of here are courses, educational courses. We were chatting to Arvi, he did his horticulture course here. They've done master composting courses because it's great to give people that information they need to grow all this amazing stuff.
It's lovely to bring your own stuff home now. I'm not an avid kind of fruit and vegetable person, but I've had a good supply throughout the summer of tomatoes, spinach, rocket and tarragon and things like that, so that's good, yes. If you don't look after things constantly, they get out of control very quickly. And weeds grow as quickly as plants as well. So
Castlebridge Community Garden is a great place to relax, but also a place to meet a vibrant local group that are getting maximum benefit from a beautiful shared space. From the very south of the model county, we are heading to the north of the county, Askamore, a community garden that owes its existence to a family who used to make hats.
400 metres, you will arrive at your destination.
When I first talked to the gardener here in Askamore, she said, now when you pull into the village, Chris, don't be distracted by the view. Well, how couldn't you be? Let's go up and see Jackie. Jackie, you're hard at work from the moment I come up to Askamore. Can you tell me? What are you doing?
Deadheading.
Okay.
If you don't deadhead, then they'll start turning into seed instead.
Okay.
And all the energy goes into the seed, but as long as you take the dead heads off, they'll keep flowering.
Okay, so this is why the walk up into the community garden is so pretty.
Yes.
It's very inviting. The story goes that there was a local labourer working for a Mr. Kidd who had a hat factory, and he found a bit of a hammer, and he said to Mr. Kidd, I found this bit of a hammer down in the far field. And Mr. Kidd went off to investigate, and he found a load of gold coins. And with some of that money, he purchased a new farm in Askamore. This field was on that farm. He also developed a mill, and in the middle of the labyrinth that you can walk around and engage in your meditative practice, once you get to the end, is the millstone from Mr. Kidd's factory.
There's a big difference between a maze and a labyrinth. A labyrinth is much more spiritual insofar as there's one way in and one way out. There's no confusion in it. The path is quite clear. We have a group here that is called Qigong. It's a walking, a moving meditation. But the park itself was always designed to be pressure-free.
You're maybe fitter than me, Jackie. You got around a lot quicker. Now, I was distracted by everything that's so beautiful. But you said when I came in, the throne was the place to sit to get a full view of it in all its splendour. This is fantastic. It really is.
You couldn't buy it.
I can see why you gave up Dublin for
Oh,
Askamore.
look. It doesn't matter where you go around here, the scenery is just captivating and you just can't stop looking.
Yeah. Now, I've asked you to sit down, Jackie, but you don't strike me as the kind of person that sits down very often when you're here.
Well, I do have my magic chair there. Turn it one way and it's a kneeler, and turn it up and it's a chair. So every gardener should have one.
While Jackie's stool is an essential part of her gardening kit, there are other essential players in the success story of Askamore.
My name is Geraldine Burney, and I'm working in the community centre and the park as part of the Wexford Local Development. I'm up here doing the forms, but when the strawberries come out and the raspberries come out and there's something nice to be had in the tunnel, my presence is felt down here, yes.
Absolutely.
I also collect the donations. We have a donation box there to come in, hoping that people who use the park will put a donation in towards the upkeep of the park and insurance and what have you. But I collect that money every week, and that goes to the community council. It's a great pleasure to come here, and you're there sort of collecting money, and sort of you feel, oh, I'm doing my job, but then you look up in the park and you see the kids playing and you hear them laughing and screaming, and you see the mums and dads maybe going for a walk or sitting at the picnic benches having their lunch, so it is very gratifying that way. And to know that you're a little part of the joy that people are getting from the park.
First of all, you're in a group and you learn what the strengths of that group are. And, if you can bring them out of their shell and get them to express it in the likes of the park and whatever, well and good. And it's a win-win situation all round.
Hi, I'm Helen Carney. I'm the chairperson of Askamore Community Council. I can't take any credit for the park. I don't. Jackie is involved. Jackie runs everything. She's brilliant, and we would be lost without her in Askamore. We really would. She coordinates with the guys who work here, the likes of Paul there. She coordinates with their boss, Pat Lacey, and organises then people to come in and help her out and that kind of thing. Really what we help Jackie with as community council is we raise funds for her, we apply for grants for her, but Jackie is absolutely the driving force behind us. So
Helen has very practical advice on how to get a community garden up and running in your own locality.
The first thing they have to do is their community council is absolutely key. You need to have like-minded people and people who are willing to help out, people who are willing to get involved, put in a bit of work if needed, whether that be phone calls, whether it be applying for grants. There needs to be some kind of a togetherness. You really do need local people to help out. Then you need somebody who is willing to take on the running and the organisation of the park or the community garden. They need a Jackie.
We have our own wells, so we have a drinking water supply here.
So people can fill their own bottles.
Bring their bottles rather than bringing disposables.
Yes.
Well, there's plenty of farmers around, so there's always somebody to ask, and that's the beauty. You have to keep asking.
And the sheep, is there much feeding on the sheep?
It's amazing what your local artists can come up with.
There's no doubt the beauty that we have here in rural Ireland, and Askamore is just like a fantastic example of that, the rolling landscape. But one of the issues that we do come across in rural Ireland is the idea of isolation. But community gardens have a really important part to play in getting people from the local community involved in what's going on.
First arrive here, they ask you if they have a coffee morning. Usually it's every Tuesday, first Tuesday in the month, isn't it? And like I said, it's just to meet everyone. But they come and invited us straight away, so you got to meet all the people, especially of like your age group, because most of the people in the daytime have retired.
Just sitting up here in the evening time and looking out there, and it's so silent, so peaceful. After all the years of working and always stressed, it's just another world. There's nowhere else I'd rather be now at this moment in time.
One of the great things, of course, about community gardens is that you don't have to be a gardener to come and enjoy it. They've even got a library in Askamore, so you can take a book, sit down and really relax.
First park in North Wexford to be given the green flag. And there aren't too many of them around. We always go into the tidy towns. One, because it gives us a great amount of money every year to splash out on what we need to do. And secondly, it gives us a standard to work to, because they give us a report at the end of the competition. And so we see where we've lost marks, and we use that to try and improve those areas next year.
With an abundance of apples at the garden, Jackie successfully secured a waste prevention grant so they could buy an apple press.
The apple press was one out. To me, that was the money most well spent. We collected all the apples in the priest's garden has apple trees. We have apple trees in here. And we made 10 litres of apple cider from our own apples. Last year, because of the lockdown, we ran a book of loaning it out. And so families got together. So it went around the community, and that's how we did it last year.
Looking to the future, and Jackie is thinking about accessibility for all.
We are very aware that children with disabilities are being kept out of the park, enjoying what the other children can enjoy. The other thing is to get a route from the outside through the park, which would be easy to manoeuvre with a wheelchair.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Not at all.
Really a pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you for coming.
Askamore will be a place I'm going to stop in and not go through from now on.
Good, good, good. That's what we like. More the merrier.
Set in the beautiful hills of North County Wexford, a great can-do attitude and attention to local needs is driving Askamore towards an ever brighter future. Here we are, Irishtown, just outside New Ross to see the Allotment project, and the sun is really come out for us. We are used to hedgerows and fences defining boundaries, and while allotments are smaller defined spaces, they have a big heart that is an ideal place to grow, learn and socialise. New Ross Allotments is a project which was initiated in 2011 to combat social isolation and to improve health and well-being. It won the Community Health category in the Pride of Place Awards in 2014.
This was a project, I suppose, an interagency approach. It was, about social inclusion. It was started about 10, maybe more, 10, 15 years ago. It was a massive success for us in New Ross, and great usage, and, kept and ran to a very high standard.
Aileen Jordan is a horticulturist who is based here, growing plants for the entire district. Part of what you do up here in the New Ross Allotments is you're growing flowers for the wider area. Of New Ross.
Yeah, and South County Wexford, about 25 villages.
Okay,
yeah,
that many,
yeah.
She works closely with the allotment holders and is in a great position to see some of the benefits of the facility.
They love coming up here, and it's a peaceful place, and a lot of them don't have back gardens, so it's somewhere to spend their time.
And it's always great when you come up and you see in the car park, oh, so-and-so is here, I haven't seen them in ages or whatever. It is very good, yeah, and it's lovely because I've met loads of new friends, because we're all kind of from the one area, but we wouldn't have known each other until we got in here, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's brilliant, definitely. Definitely the old crack up here with all the people, yeah.
33 allotments, and there's 30 taken up. They sign a contract for a year, and it's €40 for unemployed, and it's 50 for people that are working.
Okay.
For the year. So there's less than €1 a week.
Why did you want an allotment to begin with?
Well, it was my husband's fault, because he was going on, I'd love to grow my own potatoes and the whole lot. And then I said, sure, that's what I'll do, I'll get him one of them. Sure, when I got it for him, he didn't want it because he hadn't the time for it. So I came up, and I was told to dig it 6 times on each side, and I did. And I said, I'm going to keep this for myself. And that's what happened. And I've grown ever since.
I never grew any vegetables in my life, so it was a big surprise, but it was just something to do to get out of the house.
And what was it that you worked at?
I work in accounts.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So COVID hit last year, then what happened?
I lost my job, and I was at home for the first time in 22 years.
Right.
So it was really, really hard. So I had no purpose, no reason to leave the house, and my husband just decided to surprise me with this. We live in town, like we don't have a garden. It's like 6 foot square, and it has like a trampoline in it, like. So we had nothing at home. Right. So yeah, it actually gave us reason to leave in the mornings, and we spent all our time here, like all our time. Yeah.
And how long have you had an allotment?
Literally only since January. We were about 5 or 6 years ago when the allotments were established. We put our name down to get one, and it didn't. I think everybody just jumped on it. We didn't get it, and then this year we were collecting flowers for the estate that we live in, and the lady said there was allotments available, so we jumped on it straight away because we always wanted one. We live in a semi-D, so you want. We've got young kids, love to be able to grow stuff and let them see how it works, that kind of thing. So from that point of view, we hopped in. So we had a lot of work to do once we got it, but it was just a great thing to have, because we've been waiting for years and just thought we weren't going to get one.
A lot of people know the story of the little red hen. No one would help her do all the work, but everyone wanted to eat the bread at the end. When you come into an allotment, this is what you get. It's a flat space, and then the challenge is a bit of hard work, and you transform it into a space that gives you lovely fresh veg.
It's not everything that'll grow for us. Carrots kind of not the good ground for them, I think. We need to establish a bit more on the Martin now above. Martin, he gives great advice because he's a gardener for I don't know how many years now, all his life probably. But Martin is great for helping out and giving us advice, and we'd ask Aileen inside and Joanne that was here before that. Great for advice,
Oh, I love my greenhouse because I was able to come up in January and start most of my stuff off from seeds. So I didn't have to go to the garden centre and buy much. Like, I was able to do all like my cabbage and turnip and broccoli and Brussels sprouts, carrots. I did all this from seed in here, and I helped out a few of the girls like where I'd started their stuff as well. And you know, we were coming up then from middle of March or the middle of January, say, keeping it going, and then come March when the frost was gone, we had all our own crop ready to go out, so it was good, yeah. And it's really satisfying watching and knowing that you've done it from seed, you know.
You can't beat fresh food, like. There's nothing like coming up here, right, and digging the stock what is, put them in the steamer straight away.
My father was a great gardener and my mother was a great chef, cook, and it was probably just rubbed off on me, you know. It's great to know that the vegetables I have here in the garden or in the allotment, they have no pesticides or no artificial fertilizers. You know, it's all good homegrown manure in it, you know, and compost. I make my own compost, and you know, and I like to, you know, the freshness of the vegetables. Take them straight from the garden and bring them home and cook them is a lot better than going to a shop. There's something sitting there 2 or 3 days, you know.
Do you preserve a lot of it?
Oh, I do.
How?
I done it yesterday. I took the beetroot out, boil it, and then you add sugar, vinegar, and bit salt in the jars. And I open that in winter, and I'm really looking forward to that.
The New Ross allotments are just outside of New Ross town, as most people know, just outside Irish town. And when you come in here, you go, oh yeah, everybody grows vegetables. But when you start walking around and you look really closely, each allotment is very different to the next one.
I tell you, Irish people love spuds. They will take a half allotment for just potatoes, which I'm not, you know, I buy potatoes in the shop. But I grow the things like, you know, that you don't buy in the shop, like a raw beetroot, dill. I don't know, strawberries. They are nice. They taste different than in the shop, you know, when you grow themselves. So yeah. I try different. I have courgettes and broad beans, even they're nice cucumbers, tomatoes.
If one person cleans up a place, they all follow. You know, the first place to be done was that blue there.
Okay.
So they all kind of said, "Oh, now that looks well." So I think we'll do, but they need to put a bit of paint on it because it gives them ideas then as well. It's like if somebody grows a certain thing like pumpkins or whatever, they might say, oh, that's going well for them, so I'll do that as well.
Okay.
Or sweet corn, any of those different. They're not used to growing sweet corn or pumpkins, or the older people, they mostly potatoes, cabbage.
While an allotment is different to a community garden in that everyone has their own designated space, the one thing that it does allow for is for everybody to get together and lean over one allotment and chat to the person next door. There's a great social aspect to this.
Come up here in the evenings and summer's evening and the crack is mighty up here, you know, and some evenings you get nothing done at the Black Garden, you know, and but it's some evenings I come up here and there's nobody here only myself, and it's just so calm, especially when I was a chef, you know, after being in a busy kitchen all day and come up here then that evening and just chill out and relax and potter away, you know. Time goes so quick up here. It just flies by.
When I want just chill out, I just come here. Especially the days like this is just brilliant. Yeah, I come up here and you just dig, you know, you put your hands in the soil and you just forget about all the problems at home or at work or somewhere.
The one for me this year was my turnips. It was just, I couldn't believe how well they grew. Like, I was so excited to see them. I was like a big child. But yeah, definitely my turnips. Yeah, definitely.
While allotments are clearly defined separate growing spaces, they are helping to bring people together and foster a real sense of community here in New Ross. Today on our road trip around Wexford's community gardens, we're heading to a picturesque village that's not too far from the sea. So leaving Wexford is always hard for a townie, but to head down to Kirklow and Blackwater, well, that's what our summers were made of. And here we are by the iconic little house under the bridges in Blackwater. Blackwater is a town full of flowers, and we're here to see the people that are behind making all that happen. The community garden here is the driving force behind Blackwater's well-earned reputation as one of the prettiest villages in the county, and the people behind it have great reasons for being involved.
I come down mainly because you meet friends, and it's great to be out in the air, first of all, and to learn more about plants, and you know, to see everything growing is terrific.
Yeah.
You know, and mainly it's really people beating up with people from local areas and things like that. It's terrific.
To me, growing plants, I can never wait until February until I'm starting my seeds and getting the whole season going again. And between that and the pollinators, I think it's a new subject, and it's one that we really have to take serious.
We're only down here full time since COVID, and walking around Blackwater, and you wouldn't know anybody until you start doing something like being in the tidy towns, and suddenly people know you, and it's just so lovely. I think it's so good mentally.
Yes,
for the mind. I just think, like, you forget being cross, or you forget, even if you have a rainy day, it doesn't seem to matter. There's always someone down with a little yellow viz, and there's somebody digging, and it's just gorgeous. It's lovely.
Douglas Taylor is the one who does the hard maths and the detailed organising.
So the basic numbers are there's 50 hanging baskets. We probably raised 10 additional just in case of disaster. There's 15 window boxes, and we have a couple extra of those just in case of disaster. Because sometimes in the past we put them out perhaps a little bit too early, and the wind blows in and just destroys them. So perhaps a word of advice to other people is just to make sure you don't put them out too early. It's obviously it's brilliant when they go out, but just have a look at the weather on the long term, and don't put them out when it's windy. They'll be destroyed.
It must be a great day.
Oh, brilliant day. You know, because they're a massive flowers, and we bring them down in the trailers, and it's pretty spectacular, I must say.
When you're coming back into Blackwater and you drive in the village and you see the sign that says the 2019 winners, does that give you a little lift?
It does. It does, yeah. I cleaned those signs a couple of months ago as well. But it does. You know, it makes you proud, and it's not. You know, it's a team effort, and it's just it's a bit of community spirit, which I think is dwindling. And so, if I can do something to help that, I will.
No, but I think it's just lovely to be part of it. That's it. You know, you can stay at home. I have a good garden at home. I could stay there, could work there all day long. But when I come out for an hour, it takes me out of myself. And I said, you know, other people can enjoy it. Whereas I close my gate at 5:30 and nobody's going to get in, you know.
Yeah. First of all, I think you get companionship, and you meet lovely people, and it's getting out of your comfort zone and coming out, and then just to see things growing and everything. It's great sense of when you see your hard work coming to fruit, you know, that it's lovely. So I think for me it's I came to Blackwater, and I have a special needs son, so I didn't mix that much because I was out of Blackwater a lot with my son. But when I started to join the tidy town, I met lovely people like Nuala and Fonzie, and through the tidy towns. So I would say people that are home and maybe not doing anything, come out and join us.
Well, I was widowed almost 10 years ago, so, and I was still working that time, but I got involved, and I find it's great, and I live alone now, so I look forward to coming out. And I do like flowers. Not great, I've been learning from Beatrice in particular. She has all the knowledge.
Everybody else look after the beauty of Blackwater, but the river is for me. I just love walking in the river, Wellingtons, and working away. I just love it, and it's endless because you go back a week, something else grows, and I just like to keep it trimmed.
Fonzie is down here taking care of the mill race, and it looks gorgeous. But it's the Tidy Towns Committee and the work they do up in that community garden to produce all of these great flowers and keep Blackwater looking absolutely stunning. While visitors to Blackwater are always given a warm welcome, the Asian hornet is one visitor we definitely don't want in our community. The garden group have donned their citizen scientist hats and are on the lookout for it. This is a Department of Agriculture initiative that the group have adopted.
Yeah, we've all that.
We've all that in place. There's about 10 of us doing that at the
every
moment.
member has a hornet. Right.
What I couldn't believe was the amount of insects and everything
that's
that
in
went.
it. Oh,
yeah, I didn't like that because I you'd feel.
I know, but they have to die.
They have to die.
They're going to die
They have to die to save the bees, unfortunately, don't they?
There's something called the Asian hornet, and it's a menace throughout Europe. It took out 50% of the bee population, and it will expand into new areas, very rapidly.
We got them through the county council, and it has a pheromone, and you mix the pheromone with a sugar and water, and you just put it into and you hang it on a tree. Well, I'm lucky; I can hang it beside the hives.
And so we have them scattered out in, I think, 13 or 14 different gardens throughout the village. So it's a big catchment area, and we monitor it from July to October, and we're hoping that we don't find anything.
The community garden is located on a small piece of land on the edge of the village, but no resource goes to waste.
So we got a guttering fitted to it, and we collect the water in this particular barrel because of height, and so anytime I come down after rain, I know this barrel is full, and I fill it into those two containers at the back, so that going into our spring, when we have all our baskets in here, we know that we have 2,000 litres minimum.
The water stored on site is pumped into another container on a flatbed truck to make watering efficient and less time consuming.
It's new to us, and thanks to Mick Gray, and it's cut our watering time in half for the 50 baskets that we have in the village and the 15 or so window boxes. And this long lance means that we can water all of the high level things. This truck was it's just Mick's, he just supplied it. It's insured by him, and nobody else can drive it, and he volunteers his time to drive me around. This is we just lift this on and off with the teleporter, so the van isn't tied up forever, and then it can just be put in the shed for the winter.
Douglas's attention to detail and careful use of resources is appreciated by all involved and contributes to a great work ethic.
He's been a fantastic assistant, priceless to us.
Absolutely priceless, because he's computer literate and he's on the computer and he knows what's going on and what needs to be done.
Yeah, so next year, we're going to try and make some more economies and be even more self-sufficient, shall we say. I tried to change it to more towards the veg side, and so the beginning of the season, in around about March, we would be doing the hanging basket plant out and then take care of, and then put them out in June, depending on the winds, and then we have some veg on the go preparing and going from there.
Just a short walk across the field from the community garden and we've come into St. Bridget's garden. This is the junior Tidy Towns garden here in Blackwater, and it really is nice. There's some nice sculptures here. They've done some lovely stuff with pallets, and they've even recreated that nice little cottage that's down in Blackwater. I'm going to go check it out.
The junior Tidy Towns, they do a fair bit around food waste, and as well as the litter pick and companion planting as other things.
Having the junior Tidy Towns in close proximity to the community garden is a great way to invest in future generations. But what advice would Douglas have for people considering setting up their own growing group?
Try and stick to the plan, don't overextend yourself, and then just have faith, have fun. And as I said earlier, it's not a race. You just need to plan for progression or improvements each year.
Blackwater Community Garden is a real engine of activity that powers the beauty of Blackwater Village and fosters a great environment for meeting your neighbours and taking real pride in the village. Today we're visiting a unique community garden project in Grantstown. What a lovely drive into a place. This is Grantstown, just outside Wellington Bridge. Really excited. So the community garden here at Grantstown, it's great because it's like the community from outside comes in to the community that's already here. After meeting the first of the many amazing residents here, we thought who better to tell us what Grantstown Priory is than the manager, Annie Murphy.
Well, I suppose it was originally, say, the Augustinians were here, and then over time the day centre, the houses were built, and it's very much now a community village. So the church, unfortunately, is closed. There's no longer a priest on site. So the day centre serves a wide community, and I suppose our catchment area is extending all the time. And then we have 24 residential units, so it will be independent living.
I'm not a gardener, but I think it adds to the place. It makes the place actually beautiful. It makes it very like cute gardens. There's usually about 4 or 5 of us come over from the houses, you know, which is trying to get the rest of them out is a nightmare. But they'll eventually they'll be like snails. They'll all poke their heads out and say, "What's going on out there? I think we better go out."
Irene Kelly has many years of growing experience, and she leads the community garden group and helps nurture the potential on site.
I wouldn't call myself a teacher anymore. I would see myself as a facilitator of, you know, to facilitate people to learn themselves.
She treats everyone with the same respect, Irene does, and that is huge. Everybody's listened to in the group. Everyone's encouraged to speak. She really is fantastic, isn't she?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what level of garden you are. She doesn't care if you're only able to like grow something in a pot. It doesn't matter.
Right,
And
no question is stupid. Like when I started,
No.
they know this is a stupid question. Say, no question is stupid. You have to ask it. It's
and they were stupid, Anna.
Garden plays a huge impact on mental health. You know, all these residents cocooned, and very strictly cocooned. So a lot of them are just getting their confidence back of coming out even into the garden. So it's a big deal for us to have it, yeah. But we're learning as we go, and as I say, the funding is a big issue. You know, the time we don't have an on-site full-time gardener, so we have a CE scheme, and they do participate, and then we have some core staff that are HSE funded, but we have nobody delegated just to the upkeep of the gardens, and you'll see as you go around, the gardens are quite extensive, yeah.
Because you look forward to it every weekend.
Yeah.
It's like going to,
Sometimes,
some people go to the bingo.
Yeah.
And the days, the week, for me now, because I'm retired, the week could be twice as long. Even though I have my own garden now, I put in raised beds and a tunnel since I came down here. So I'd be working at that at home. But I miss this now we're in here.
The group of women, primarily women, there are some men in it as well, but they are just such a great bunch of women, and they're such a great support to each other, and there's been wonderful friendships formed here. You know, it's there's something special. Right. And it's lovely that you can come and do something useful as well as enjoy it, you know. We have mighty crack, you know, and we get a little bit of work done. We get a lot done, yes, you'll see it when you go around the garden. There's a lot being achieved.
Yeah. People think gardening, they might think of bending over or digging all the time or kind of hard work, but it's not all about that.
No,
there's so much more.
No, and for some of them, like they don't necessarily get involved at all. They just sit and watch or chat or whatever. So, you know, it's different things for different people. Like there are members in the group that never stop, you know, and they can't stop. And then there's others that just talk. So, and there's room for everybody, I think, you know.
For the residents in Grantstown, it means a lot for them to have interaction with the members of the growing group and to see the gardens looking so well.
Oh, they love it. I mean, we have the peace garden, and they like to walk around that, and they love even seeing us out and about, even if we're watering their little troughs out front or the baskets, they'll come out and they'll have a little chat with you.
Yeah.
Or they'll call you into the garden and they'll show you their little bits that they have and what do you think of this and haven't they done a good job of that. And then they love the veg, Justin goes around with the veg. And you know.
Well, it's nice to come out and see them. And we can walk out the back from my house here and down the drive, and you're not shut in or anything. So you can walk, and there's cattle out there, and the tunnels and flowers and everything. It's like being in the country, it is. Yeah. Plenty of people here, we know them all, and they talk to us. Makes a lot of difference, you see.
I was wanting to show you this. This courgette is a champion.
Oh, it surely is.
I'm here over 8 years altogether.
And has that been growing for 8 years?
No, but some of them tend to get big.
And what's the secret to getting it that big?
Manure and water now, and regular water.
Okay.
But they don't take much water at all.
This year we did a hanging basket project, whereby we went off to the local nursery and we got a whole lot of bedding plants and hanging baskets, and then we had tables set up outside the tunnels, and any of the residents who wanted to could come and plant up their own hanging basket. And the chat that went on around the table was fabulous, and as a result of that, a lot of them now come out and visit us more.
And there was some that were saying, oh, I'm not bothered about the baskets, but now they're the very ones that are deadheading flowers and water and I mean the troughs that are in front of the house, they were all planted up. So it definitely, you do see them out early in the morning and late at the evening, just tipping around because, they're not going to have the neighbour looking better than them either. So.
While the group is well established, Irene is busy making plans for the gardens so that all residents can reap the benefits.
This whole little garden here, we want to create a sensory garden here. So the idea that under my feet here there is a chamomile, which is a scented lawn basically, that we would have it that, the residents would come out here and wander, and they'd exercise all their senses of smell and touch. And
the people with dementia get great value from gardens. So for our clients that come, to be able to come out and be assisted with a walk through a garden and through a nice peaceful area. The peace garden at the back was developed, water fountain. There's a wall mural as well that's done there, and all the residents participate in that. It's amazing when you bring somebody with memory trouble into a garden and the senses are stimulated and the memories it evokes. It's just unbelievable.
You're going to have a whole lot of different characters, and they all have their own little space, but how lovely to be able to come out and sit on a bench. If you see somebody and think, I'll have a chat with him, but then you can equally well get up and say, I've had enough of him now, I'm going back indoors. So yeah, we want to create a space for that to happen.
All the time you're learning about something. That was something new. Irene is full of knowledge.
How long has this 10-week course been running now?
4 years.
4 years. And you get tips off each other. It's not just Irene, is it? Because somebody will know how to do something that you, or they've got an idea or a tip that you've never tried, and you might have one that they've never tried.
So it robs nitrogen. Counterintuitively, like you think that you're putting manure on, but when...
What about advice for others that are inspired by the Grantstown model?
Start small. I think it would have been one of the mistakes I made when I came here, is that we were going to fix every bit of the garden, and then because we're only here for the morning, it doesn't, you're kind of all over the shop. So I think, if we were just talking actually this morning as a group, and we were saying if you had a 5-year plan, and just take it in bite-sized pieces.
The community garden at Grantstown is quite a unique project in how it combines a residential setting with a very active growing group from the surrounding area. But the benefits are fantastic, and it is setting high standards for how communities can care for elderly residents. We'll be very busy today. We're visiting one project that runs a total of 4 gardens. 3 of the gardens, Adamstown, Clonroach and Newbourne, are only a year old, while Raheen has been running for a long time. We're in the very capable hands of the irrepressible Carmen Sanchez.
We are in Adamstown and this is our first garden from our garden projects. So this garden has been created by the children and I want to show you what they have done.
Oh, it was tidy enough, but it was this kind of a grass, this area here, there was nothing growing here. So it's kind of a no man's land, and they decided that's why they put it here then, it's something for to do rather than just a green area. Yeah. And it's handy for the school behind this national school, then come in and they use it and they're learning all about food as well.
The whole school is involved, and they come in at half-hour intervals to come and I try and teach them about gardening.
Okay, half-hour intervals?
Yes.
So you're on it?
Oh yeah, it's very busy.
How many kids roughly are coming through?
I think it's about 120 children.
Okay.
So
wow.
Every half hour a new class comes in. What I decided to do was to teach them all the same thing every week. So if we're potting up, then every class will pot up. Because there are a lot of basics everybody needs to know is how to pot up a plant. Doesn't matter if you're junior infant or 6th class or, I don't know, college student. There's still a method to do it and doing it. So that's why I do the same thing.
It's just important to get everyone involved, especially now when sustainability is so important. Like obviously we've seen the temperature rise, you know, everything has just gone crazy at the moment. So it's really important to let kids know how important sustainability is.
Get more back to nature and stuff like that, and especially with lockdown, I think it was gone a bit crazy with what food you're putting into your kids and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity and you kind of have to kind of make it work. We were off on holidays, staycation, and was just home one day and was like, okay, everything seems to be ripe here. So we got peas, got onions, got the carrots, and I've actually started to grow my own potatoes, so I had them as well. And I just bought some meat up in the local shop and from the area, and I was like, oh, this is really good, and it felt really good.
I mean, we're not growing this just for the art of growing. You have to eat the food. Food waste is a no-no.
From Adamstown, it's a quick spin up the road to Raheen, a garden that was established a long time ago.
So we are now in Raheen, right?
Okay.
This garden was funded in 2013 by the Irish Heart Foundation. So it's a more mature garden than the ones we saw before.
Okay, great.
So let's see what we have here.
Lovely.
Well, the Raheen project started here with the National Lottery. Actually, that's where it all started, and we started up a little creche and a few other little things started to develop from there, and then the community gardens and all started with DTB and all these other funding agencies. Yeah.
It's been amazing to find a group of people that you can still be active with and still have a time to get around and enjoy a cup of coffee out somewhere or something like that, you know. So, and we do that, yeah.
What's actually crucial in all of these gardens is that they actually develop friendships, and when they're working, they chat, and you open up and you say things you never think of saying, you know, and it actually really helps.
I really enjoy coming here on a Friday. It's the highlight of the week, really. I look forward to it.
Right.
You know, it gives you a good feeling when when you see what you have grown, and to me that's wonderful.
There are 4 gardens in total in the Ark Family Resource catchment area, and in Raheen, the age group, it was interesting talking to them because they're saying, I'd no interest in gardening and why would I go down to the garden, and I'm retired now. But once they came down, the difference it made to their life, that social inclusion. In Adamstown we had the kid, you see Eve running around there and she's learning in school about it. At all ages, these community gardens have a massive impact on people's life outside of the garden. 2 gardens down, and when we get to Clonroach, I ask Carmen why these gardens have been spread throughout a relatively small geographical area.
Absolutely fundamental for the project, because what we detected is that when you are living in rural Ireland, and you saw how isolated our catchment areas are, there's no transport, the access to a variety of food is very limited. So we wanted to introduce people to new vegetables. You saw this morning we were speaking about Swiss chard. Yes, take Swiss chard. This is very nice. You can cook it. So it's new vegetables that people haven't tried yet. And we encourage for them to pick them and to eat them. And we will as well introduce an educational element in the autumn where we show them how to cook it and how to preserve it, so.
It's incredible how mature the gardens in Clonroach and Adamstown are after only one season. The garden in Clonroach is on the site of a well-used sports field in the village that was established with a leader grant a number of years ago. So it already has a high level of community use.
We got the contractors in and they put what's here, which is a fantastic facility for a village. It should be in every village. It's for walking, and especially at this point in time where people are locked up and they could get out, get exercise, meet people, and you're out in the open air.
Can you tell us what you're doing?
Mostly we're picking the weeds out and the lads are picking off the bigger peas.
What's your name?
Peter Murphy.
Peter, how are you?
Fine.
Yeah. What are you doing here, Peter?
Low.
Right, you were weeding, were you?
Yeah.
Kevin, you grow yourself at home, you're telling me?
Yeah.
What do you grow at home?
Beans and potatoes and lettuce and peas.
The whole thing about gardening is you got to get the start right. If the soil isn't right, then nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we'll have to put it to bed, the garden, and feed it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So once the harvest is in, then that'll be our next job. These beans we're growing here, these black guys, they're drying beans. So that'll be winter food, as it were. And we won't have to buy a can of beans, we'll have done our own.
And is the drying of that, is that difficult?
Just leave it on the plant, it'll do it for you.
Okay. What I love about this here is that they got together to make this bed a really raised bed, up nice and high, so someone in a wheelchair can come nice and close and still access soil and get that same thrill of planting and growing and then harvesting. The chard is ready to go and the kale is ready to go. Yeah, that's a great idea. And the kitchen here in Clonroach Community Garden means we can get Carmen to share some of her recipes.
This is a traditional way of preserving the cucumbers. Boiling water here, spoon of salt. Garlic is fundamental. Radish that we grew here in the garden, dill. And we have the secret ingredient here, which is a blackberry leaf. Our cucumbers are being washed already. So that's all. How easy is that? 2-3 days and you have the most beautiful fermented cucumbers ever.
So that's Adamstown, Raheen and Clonroach, and there's still a fourth garden to get to today, and we've already been fed some of those garlic cucumbers, absolutely lovely. All right, let's go. Newborn, here we come.
This lovely garden here is in Newborn, and it's a different kind of community garden in that it's more within an established housing estate community.
I hope for the garden that will become more people.
We are struggling a little bit here with numbers, with participant numbers, but we have a plan in place, and our plan is to engage with the schools, bring the children in. So we are starting that as soon as the school starts. And with the child comes the parents as well. So that's our hope anyway. That's our plan.
With a project like this, setting up 3 gardens in such a short amount of time, it's great to have a tutor, and that's Annabelle. She's been with us all day on all of these gardens, and she arrives at these places and she's got a structure in her head, but then she meets the participants and she kind of lets them at it. It's great and it's very empowering.
The main people who do this kind of cherish this, actually nurture this enormously. As you can see, there's a real love gone into this.
The Ark Family Resource Centre has 4 inspirational gardens up and running: Adamstown, Raheen, Clonroach and Newbone. Community gardens right in the heart of rural villages, serving those that most need them.